The Red Sea hides more than you know, and you won't believe half of it. From ancient relics and sunken cities to military tanks and wild beasts that left humans scrambling in panic.
Experts say the city probably founded around the 8th century BC.
You're not ready to see some of these cliffs, ready to head into the sea? Take out your gear then, and let's dive right in. Number 39. The remains of the Pharaoh's army. Scientists have made such a startling discovery in the Red Sea that the entire world is left wondering if it is true. Archaeologists claim that they have unearthed chariot wheels at the bottom of the sea.
The waters of Aqaba. It appears that remnants of 4- and 6-spoke wheels have been discovered.
This aligns directly with the story of Exodus as stated in the Bible. Wait, there's more. The artifacts found date back to the time of the ancient Egyptian.
These designs were used simultaneously only during Egypt's 18th dynasty and no later than about 1400 BC.
It confirms that when Israelites were escaping from the Egyptian, the sea split open and drowned the army of the Pharaoh in the Red Sea. Some people have called it a fake discovery, turning down the wild claims of the archaeologists. But the majority of the world is convinced that it is indeed proof that the biblical event happened years ago. Number 38. The Lighthouse of Alexandria. This lighthouse was once one of the 7 wonders of the world. Today, its ruins lie at the bottom of the sea. The lighthouse is believed to have taken 12 years to construct. It managed to survive centuries, about 1600 years at least.
Like and subscribe right now, and you'll have amazing luck for the rest of the week.
Going through many repairs. But today, it is nothing but rubble. Number 37. The Sunken City. For centuries, this city was lost to a forgotten myth. Then, out of nowhere, its ruins were discovered and restored the faith of the people.
The treasures belonged to 2 sunken cities which were thought to be the stuff of myth.
Thanis Herakleion was the port that made Egypt great. For years, people were fooled into thinking that it was a mere legend. But the excavations brought out the treasure of the past that this submerged city was hiding. In the ruins were 64 ships, 700 anchors, a massive treasure of gold coins, statues that stood tall on the seabed, above the height of 16 feet, tiny sarcophagi of a few animals, and the remains of many tombs. It was like the whole city turned upside down and sank into the waters.
By the 8th century AD, the sea had reclaimed the cities where they laid undiscovered for over 1,000 years.
Even after finding this massive chunk of lost treasure, scientists believe that there is a lot more yet to be found. Number 36. The Old Shipwreck. The Red Sea is home to many wreck sites, but this one is a much older one on the list. The Kingston SS took its final voyage in the year 1881 with a crew of 25 people, but it was the huge amount of coal aboard the ship that was the problem. The ship hit a reef and about 1,740 tons of coal was compromised. Such a massive amount was no joke back in that time. So, the captain stayed behind while the survivors were rescued. He tried helplessly to save the vessel, but the very next day, the ship sank and the remaining survivors were collected from the crash site. Today, the coral-covered hull is all that's left of the massive ship. Number 35. The Ancient Woman. Nabateans are a civilization that lived in Egypt about 2,000 years ago. They inhabited a large part of the region, and their remnants can be found all over the coast of the Red Sea. Here is a woman's face reconstructed from the bone fragments found in a tomb.
We don't know that she was a lady from the skull. We know from the form of the basin.
Number 34. The tragic wreck site. This shipwreck is probably the largest one in the Red Sea. With a length of nearly 350 feet, the ship's remains lie in the water about 150 feet from the surface. The ship sank into the waters during the Second World War, when the vessel was bombed by 2 German warplanes. The ship was one of a kind, and not just in length. It could cover a speed of 10 knots, which was quite big back then. Today, it lays still at the bottom of the Red Sea. Number 33. The Red Sea Museum. This is the museum near the Red Sea that is home to nearly 1,800 artifacts, but the ones that stand out are the tiny collection of mummies preserved in their best states. You can also find royal pieces at this museum that speak of ancient Egyptian life. Have you ever seen a mummy up close? Number 32. The Old Egyptian Harbor. Archaeologists recently unearthed a harbor on the coast of the Red Sea. They claim that it is the oldest one in Egypt. The 4,500-year-old harbor is from the days when Pharaoh Khufu was in power. Turns out Khufu didn't just leave the mysterious Great Pyramid for us to solve. This find is just as puzzling. Apparently, the ancient harbor is about 1,000 years older than any other port structure known to the world.
Now a team of Egyptian and Japanese archaeologists are uncovering the 600 pieces of wood with extra special care.
But the strange harbor wasn't the only discovery made on this coast. Scientists also stumbled upon a papyri that's 40 pages long. While most of them talked about the lives of ancient Egyptians, there was one that talked about pyramids. There was an official named Merer who would make frequent trips to the Tura limestone quarry to grab blocks for the pyramid. Who was Merer? Was he a human? Most importantly, did this discovery solve the riddle of the pyramids? You decide. The Red Sea is not just home to Egyptian relics and artifacts. It holds a special place for other cultures too. Number 31. The Copper Wreck. Slipping out of a supposed shipwreck, scientists stumbled upon a massive chunk of copper wreck, pottery, plates, and ingots. They aren't quite sure which ships gave them the treasure, but the wreckage was littered across the Red Sea. Number 30. The Lone Anchor. You will find the most random of things down in the sea, like this lone. It probably dropped from a shipwreck, but which one? That's a question with no solid answer. Number 29. The Greek Ruin. In the depths of the sea, archaeologists found these artifacts from the 8th century. They seem to be Greek in origin, but there's a lot more to know about. Are they part of a sunken city? Did they come from a shipwreck?
The cities were submerged because of natural calamities, earthquakes, big tides, collapsing of ground.
Scientists are still working to answer these burning questions. But that's not all there is in the Red Sea. Did you know it has an entire military museum where the strangest beasts roam the waters? Stay tuned till the end to know more. Number 28. The Duster Tank. Red Sea hides its very own military museum, and this wreck is just another proof of it. Here, you'll see a tank that sank into the waters in the year 1999. It is called the Duster, an American beast that was meant to rip apart enemy airplanes into bits and shred. But after it drowned, it became a relatively accessible diving site in the Red Sea. About 65 feet from the shore and a mere 20 feet from the surface, you'll almost always end up stumbling upon this wreck site. But here's the bizarre bit. What was once a monster weapon is now a home for many fishes of the Red Sea. If you come at a quiet time, you can spot them swimming around in the tiny nooks and corners of the tank. Number 27. The Hercules Plane Wreck. This is probably the strangest kind of wreck site that you'll see today. Nearly 1,000 feet from the shore, you'll come across this bizarre plane wreck that's no more than a fake. You heard that right. This plane didn't just drop from the sky, nor did it have a tragic story. The government just wanted another cool diving site for the people and decided to sneak this into the water. But the plane did indeed crash when it was thrown into the water. Apparently, its body split into two, and the nose broke too, leaving it looking like a real wreck. This may be bogus, but we aren't sure about what comes up on the 12th spot. Number 26. The Roman City. Who knew a Roman city would be found near the coast of the Red Sea? The Demia El Seba was built in the 3rd century and was home to people from the Neolithic period. Today it lies in the sand, deserted and forgotten. But if you look closely, you can take a look into what once stood on this coast.
And it's a remnant of a Greco-Roman town.
Remains of 2 temples, houses, underground chambers, and streets can still be spotted. But what's puzzling are the walls. They stand at a staggering height of nearly 33 feet with a thickness of 16 feet. Now, that's something. Number 25. The SS Thistlegorm Wreck. This massive carcass is the best well-preserved wreck in the entire Red Sea. During World War II, the SS Thistlegorm was carrying army trucks, jeeps, boots, and stacks of rifles to take to the British Army. But a terrible German air attack forced the ship to sink into the Red Sea, taking its small crew of 9 people along into the deadly trap. But nobody could have predicted back then that the ship would live long enough to be seen as the most popular diving site of the Red Sea. From the wheels of the army trucks to the ladders leading up to the deck, everything is just as it was decades ago. It is almost as if you're stepping back in time and catching a glimpse into the old battle. Have you ever been to this site before? Number 24. The Mermaid. In the depths of the Red Sea, scientists stumbled upon a strange find. A mermaid swimming up to the surface of the ocean and then vanishes into thin air. I can't tell you for sure whether this clip is real, but it would take a lot to convince me otherwise. What do you think? Number 23. Dolphins' personal skincare routine. Scientists were shocked to find what these dolphins were doing in the Red Sea. Apparently, a large group of dolphins would pop up and randomly brush up their bodies against the sea corals. For years, scientists couldn't solve the big riddle. Why were these dolphins attracted to the coral? What were they trying to do and why? Turns out the dolphins were just trying to get a bit of medicated therapy from the corals. Some of them are so eager to keep their skin moisturized that they rip apart the coral and squeeze it like cream on their snouts and body. They are just like us, aren't they? Number 22. Earth's earliest life form. Believe it or not, This coast is home to the first signs of life that made it to Earth. Known as the stromatolites, they are layered rocks that host algae and cyanobacteria. You can't see them, but they have their own little world running inside.
And these were little columns of algae, blue-green algae, that were growing in a shallow sea.
Many scientists have even suggested sending them to Mars to start the red planet's very own civilization. But this is nothing compared to the discovery coming up on the 15th spot. Number 21, the Zenobia wreck. Believe it or not, this is one of the top 10 diving sites in the world, partly because of what's hiding inside the vessel. The Zenobia sank into the waters due to a technical error. Engineers later found out that the water was leaking into the ship, ultimately marking its tragic end the moment it set sail. But it is what's left of the ship that attracts the big crowd. Apparently, the ship was carrying over 100 vehicles and lorries. You can swim through the vessel and find the cars stacked over one another, titled at 90 degrees. It is like a completely different world inside. Number 20, the massive creature. A group of divers saw something so bizarre in the Red Sea that it still remains the talk of the town. In 2011, some people went down to investigate a shipwreck, but instead, they stumbled upon a strange creature. At a depth of 2,800 feet, they saw a squid that was bigger than a human. The massive creature can be spotted twisting its body around the wreck. Then, within a second, it bolts out of the scene. Experts believe that it was the giant form of the flying squid, but some people are convinced that it might have been a juvenile colossal squid. If this was scary, wait till you see what we have on the 6th spot. Number 19, the unknown cause. Nobody knows why this ship crashed into the Red Sea, but they do know how it happened. The Dunraven was on a return trip from Liverpool to Bombay. When coming back from its trip, the ship struck a reef and sank into the bottom of the sea. It is believed that the captain misjudged the location of the ship, but no one really knows what happened out there. Even the discovery of the ship's remains is a mystery. It is unclear who found the wreck first. Number 18, the underwater home. Like Elon's vision of Mars, do you think people can live under the sea? Well, it was a theory stated and tested by a young man and his crew who lived in homes underwater for months. The crew would spend nearly 6 hours working in the sea in a fully equipped home with a television, radio, a library, and a bed. Hours turned into weeks and then into months. It was a promising stunt, but the idea never fully got the attention it deserved. Number 17, the wild cargo ship. This vessel ran its own course and then fell into a deadly trap. The Giannis D was a cargo ship dropping off part of the packages at the coast of the Red Sea. On the way, the captain went to his cabin to rest and handed over the drive to another officer. But halfway down the route, the ship struck a reef. Apparently, the vessel had drifted away from its course and ran at full speed towards the reef. The tragedy left the ship abandoned on the reef. A little while later, it broke and went down into the sea. Number 16, the missing part. This is the ship whose front half is missing. No one knows where it is now. The vessel was carrying nearly 160 passengers when it struck a reef and sank into the bottom of the sea. The majority of the people found the tugboat to be their savior, but the rest of them had to swim to the shore and towards safety. Number 15, the massive treasure. About 2,000 coins have been found on the coast of the Red Sea. It is the biggest stash ever found in the entire area and is believed to have popped out from a shipwreck nearby.
We found a great treasure of golden Fatimi coins. Probably belonged to a shipwreck.
Scientists think that the gold coins are from the 11th century. What would you do with this kind of treasure? Number 14, the glowing corals. At depths of 150 feet, scientists were fascinated to come across this weird find. From yellow to red to green, you can spot a whole disco running out here. Experts don't exactly know how it all ties up for the corals and why they chose to spend this much energy into producing these glowing halos. But they are definitely mesmerizing to look at. No? Number 13, plane with a skeleton. This is yet another plane wreck hiding in the sea. But what you don't know is that it has one very dark secret. Sitting in the cockpit are 2 skeletons tied to the seat. These divers went out to explore the plane wreck and couldn't believe their eye. One of the skeletons was wearing a helmet and had his hand still on the handle. The aircraft looked like a military airplane, but there wasn't much inside to solve the mystery. Do you think it is real or fake? You decide. Number 12, the Napoleon wrassa. Can you imagine that massive thing coming at you? This is the humphead wrasse that's bigger than an average human and stretches up to at least 6 feet long. The bulky beast can weigh up to 400 tons and has unbelievably large lips to gobble up prey, quick and smooth. Number 11. Bobbit worm. A bobbit worm is definitely the scariest creature out in the Red Sea. With a staggering length of 10 feet, the bobbit worm sits in the dark underground. When an unlucky prey stumbles upon this landmine, the bobbit worm ambushes the prey and eats it up whole in one bite. Talk about scary. 10. The unfaithful cargo ship. This is the wreck of the Numidia vessel, and it has been here for more than 100 years. The ship was carrying a crew of nearly 100 passengers, but down the way, the captain fell asleep. He was awakened by the ship when it crashed into a giant reef. The crew tried a lot to rescue the ship and its cargo, but the vessel was long gone. The captain even stayed behind on the island for several weeks, but it was of no use. The ship had sunk to the bottom. Number 9. Red Sea Walk, a fish that can walk on water. Meet the Red Sea Walkman. This ambush predator can sit still on a rock for more than half its life, unbothered. But that doesn't make it any less dramatic. One wrong move and it will pull out its stinger, throwing a pack of painful stings in your direction. Better to just stay out of its reach. Number 8. The SS Carnatic vessel. A voyage ship was on its way from Britain to India with over 200 passengers when it struck a reef. But here's the weird bit. Apparently, the passengers aboard this vessel were on another ship that had run aground before, so they didn't worry much when the Carnatic hit a reef too. That ended up becoming a deadly trap for many people. Number 7. The Egyptian artifact. It was time to bring the relics from the Red Sea to the museum that houses over 4,000 artifacts. Among them are many things like old jewelry and an ancient harmonica, but the one thing that stands out is the statue of a past king.
The items on display include the head of Queen Tia III, as well as items depicting the different titles of King Ramses II.
This guy has been known to connect the Red Sea with the Nile. Number 6. The Jackpot. This ship was loaded with weapons, yet it went down sailing at the bottom of the sea. The SS Umbria was carrying an impressive on its final journey, about 360,000 bombs, 60 cartons of detonators, boxes of detonators, bags of cement, and vehicle. But during World War II, the Italian cargo ship was sent down into the water. Number 5. The Rock Art. In the deep corners of Wadi Hammamat, you will find a hidden cave that is filled with numerous painted rock. The many pictographs on these rocks speak of many eras, stretching from ancient Egyptian times to the modern era. But it has one painting that stands out, the only painted petroglyph that has ever come out from the Eastern Desert. Number 4. The Cedar Pride Shipwreck. This wreck site has an interesting secret lying deep inside the vessel. The Cedar Pride wreck has been in the waters for more than 3 decades now. It sits in the middle of 2 reefs, attracting a large crowd of divers every now and then. The wreck is no more than 100 below the surface of the Red Sea. The surprising part is that you might not even recognize the wreck at first glance. It is completely covered in corals. Inside the wreck, you'll find an empty vessel waiting for you with most of its parts still intact. Mostly advanced divers go beyond the wreck and peek into the vessel, all to take a look at the tiny air gap hiding inside the ship. Number 3. The Salem Express. The eerie history of this shipwreck will send chills down your spine. Known as the Salem Express, the ship was carrying 650 people from Makkah. It was only a few hours away when the supposedly experienced captain decided to take a shortcut. Not only was this alternative route unauthorized, but it was also unsafe. Yet the captain went ahead anyway. Next thing you know, the ship struck a reef and went straight into the sea. Reportedly, it only took 10 to 20 minutes for the entire ship to crash and drown. It all happened so fast that even the lifeboats were left untouched on the ship. About 470 passengers drowned. Unlike the other wreck sites, you won't find any reefs on this ship. Number 2. The Abandoned Plane Wreck. What do you think? Real or fake? Turns out this airplane wreck at the bottom of the Red Sea is another artificial diving site. This airplane was sitting idle at the country's airport for quite a long time. So, officials decided to throw it down into the Red Sea and turn it into a tourist attraction for the divers. The government makes money, fishes enjoy a new home, and the wreck site gets a couple of good gasps from the divers. Works out just fine for everyone, doesn't it? Number 1. Red Sea's Death Pool. There are some parts of the Red Sea that are called the Dead Zone.
The Red Sea, known for its vibrant coral reefs, harbors a hidden secret in its depths.
No life is known to exist in these. Either they are too salty or too hot to host any kind of marine life.
While deadly to most familiar creatures, the brine pools aren't entirely devoid of life.
But the mystery that surrounds this discovery is why only certain parts of the Red Sea have this unique trait. Do you have any theories? That's all, folks. Which discovery did you like the most? Have you ever been to the Red Sea? Which diving site would you like to visit? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, smash the like button, hit subscribe, and press the bell icon to stay updated for the latest news. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.